Recording in progress.
That's great.
Every 6 months, like.
I saw that happen on Lucas and
Sam,
Hunt.
do you have a copy?
There was a guy, his tire,
The copy
I was
of
like, what the heck?
everything.
He was like, oh,
You can.
like Suburban?
I ran out of the
Yeah.
house.
the police were
No,
like,
I got up.
he was just like,
If you don't, that's
like,
fine. I don't need you to
I was like,
make
dude.
copies for me.
Do you want to mention about
You need a copy
recording?
of.
no, it's already out there.
Yeah, just the.
What does that mean? I
It's a
mean,
Zoom.
There's a Zoom.
Yeah,
There's a Zoom link.
and as far as the Zoom is concerned, can we
maybe
display?
April, maybe
because they don't
August
need to
23rd
look at
was
us.
recorded and we-
Yeah, I will
if
be
we wanna
sharing my
display-
screen.
Yeah, please, thank you.
Yeah, it looks like we actually do have one person on the Zoom, so
Oh, Malik, yeah,
I believe he spoke.
yes. Good evening, Malik.
All right.
Hi.
Oh, that's the camera.
Yes, that's the
You're
camera.
fine. Well, it's
That's the
changed a
camera.
little bit.
Has it
Debbie.
good?
So you need to
What?
That's the camera.
Good.
but take one and
Oh, I
pass
see.
it.
Yeah.
Take one and pass.
I thought it was further back.
What do we do? Oh,
No, it's wide angle.
I know, I thought it was, I don't know why I thought it was further back.
I left my glasses, pass those around.
Well,
I gotta get my glasses.
you know, it updated and actually.
Do we have agendas?
This was the
So I only
agenda.
printed 4 because I didn't want to waste paper. It just says budget workshops
Yeah.
on it.
Oh,
So-
okay.
Do you have,
I do not. This is the updated one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that the one that will circulate?
I'll go through what changes were made.
Thank you, sir.
Good.
Benjamin, Granny's outside.
She's doing okay.
All right. Let's call this meeting to order.
I love you, bye.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Cleveland. Councilman Saxonheimer.
Here.
Councilwoman Smith. Councilman Evans. Councilman Hong.
Here.
Councilman Nelson. Councilwoman Rosso.
Here.
Councilwoman Campbell.
Yeah.
There's not a quorum.
Not getting a quorum, we're not gonna vote, we're gonna go ahead and have a conversation about what this budget looks like.
I agree.
All
Just
right.
for information, Sam, so was August 23rd recorded?
Yes, it
Okay,
may not
so-
be posted yet,
Uh-huh, okay.
but it is recorded.
Because Yolanda was asking, and then for other people tonight, if they're not here, they could listen to it then.
Yeah, these will all make it up on YouTube. I fell a little bit behind on them, but
Yeah, I
we'll
get
get
it.
it up. Yeah, anytime these cameras are on, we're.
I would say, is there another one?
Yes,
They
so
still
that
have
one,
that. Okay.
it wasn't working, but now it does.
Yeah, clearly,
So-
because it's on.
Wait, so it was the other camera, I thought.
Yeah.
That's even
The,
better.
the,
Oh, I have no clue. You can say it's this and that.
the update that made it not work the other night, when we got the update, actually went through, that camera started working, which was good, because we were like, why wasn't it working? But-
Yolanda.
And someone asked about
Does it
that.
automatically look at you?
Yeah, that one does too, we got another.
Talk and find you, yes.
Yes, they can track
Scary.
voices.
So there's been two people that have responded to the curbside signs about meetings, and one person stopped me and said, I wanted to get on Zoom and it was not working. I said, well, hop in your car and come then.
Interesting. Okay.
So
Well-
there's some response.
As you're all aware, this budget is on a shoestring. It's tight. And Sam was working up until about 5 minutes before the meeting, cutting here, trimming there, adding this. But anyway,
And this is still not trimmed.
right, I know, we gotta do some work.
So,
I'm gonna let Sam tell you where the changes were made, so that there are some changes from the draft that you have, that when you came here, the draft you had Tuesday. So Sam, go ahead.
I went ahead and highlighted everything that's changed.
Oh, you did. And this, oh, I see it.
Oh, good,
Thank you.
good,
Well,
good.
that's helpful.
Thank you, sir.
And then let me go ahead and share the screen as well. Let's see how to. No, this was actually or last month. No, we don't want to be around.
You're
go. Okay. We'll start going through the changes. So, one of the first change, and you should be able to see this, is in administration, there was some slight changes to the numbers. We did, that was because we did find a police clerk, and so we, nailed down what that salary would be. Are you seeing? Oh, you're not seeing the right thing. Hold on.
Page
Any
2.
attention?
Page 2 of 5 is what you're looking for.
Yes. I'm watching the paper.
Oh, you got a different line item. You got an Excel sheet.
Yeah, that was the, from
Yeah.
August 23rd.
There
Okay,
it is. Okay.
there we go.
Yep, you got it.
So there was some slight changes in the administrative salary, like changes of $1,000, so nothing super significant. It did go slightly up, so that was different from the last time. Here's the big one. We got the insurance quote in for MoPerm. It was 20, so I had budgeted it to increase by about $10,000. Well, it increased by $36,000. So there's a few different reasons for that. One is we have, it's public information. We have quite a few lawsuits against us. Obviously, they're gonna pass along some of those costs.
Is this health insurance?
No, this is
Liability.
liability
Oh,
insurance.
here, I'll show you. Bill. It's-
Which one is that?
next page.
What number are we talking?
10549.
Oh, man, my hand is right. This number right here.
Dear God.
Last year, I mean, it was previously,
Okay.
Yeah, last year we had budgeted 110,000. This year we spent about 115,000. And we just got quoted, and this is just for the price of the policy, for $146,712. So
I see.
that's where, since we talked last, we've got to come up with some ideas.
Is there a way that they would, is there a way that if, like, as an entity, if we took or had, like, training,
Yeah.
that they would reduce this
Like,
number?
DE&I training,
Oh,
equity
yeah.
training,
Yeah.
sensitivity
Like,
training.
there are certain, I know, like, there are certain trainings that you take, that, you sign off on, and then, like, your corporation becomes less of a liability when it comes to quid pro quo and things like that.
I'm sorry. Did Glen Echo Park have a council meeting?
they're doing it, I apologize, that just got
Oh, no.
worked out. They're at, Beyond Housing.
Yeah, that's
How
going
can
on
they
right
be at
now.
Beyond Housing? Because Beyond Housing is having a meeting.
It's
They
24
got it in the
hours.
conference room.
Yeah, the 24/1/7, there's, right.
Yeah,
I can only be in one.
it only got worked out. It only got worked out.
They're not a twin.
What's the other meeting again?
Glen Echo had their meeting for tonight, I overbooked this room, and so
Wow.
we scrambled and she,
They were changing their meeting date around a lot,
Yes, they just had a meeting 2 weeks ago.
so.
well,
So
I was gonna blame it on me, but go ahead.
it's okay.
But if this increase has to do with our lawsuits, how would training lessen?
The only training I'm aware of that
answer
they
your
require, oh, go ahead.
To answer, they do have, like, the renewal survey, and they ask you those questions. They say, they ask you questions like, what are your internal control procedures? Do you have sexual harassment training? We were able to check yes on a lot more stuff than I think we were last year. And given all that, I mean, they're still passing stuff along. As far as specific trainings, I'm not aware of that. I mean, I know they have the renewal survey, they ask questions like that, but I'm not aware if there's a specific training we can sign up for.
Is that something that we could talk to the agent about, like, specifically, and ask?
We could, but here's the other thing. So MoPerm is more or less a monopoly. Well, I don't know. I guess theoretically we could have someone else provide us insurance, but
No, we could, if we talk to their agent, because even if we can't get those rates this year, like,
in
Work
advance
towards
If,
for
if,
next
like,
year.
work towards, like, reducing.
Just
it
find out if
later.
there's opportunities
For
to,
maybe next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because even if, like, as a council, we do those trainings, like, if it, you know, the council, and, like, I know, like, specifically, like, you could do a training and have a certificate, and, like, we all have to get these trainings done by the time, like, the new year starts.
and the gal we deal with, Brenda at Bull
Yeah.
Firm, has been very, very helpful. She's never mentioned any of this,
Yeah.
like, any opportunities.
Is this for elected officials?
Not
Sometimes they have it for,
necessarily,
they
but
do
yeah,
have it for
if-
elected
if
officials
it
also.
helps.
The
Yeah.
Muni League offers a introduction to municipal government. They have a class, it's in the municipal guide, their workbook that they publish, and it's actually online that they offer.
Yeah, but the
training.
question is, will it get our
Yeah,
insurance rates down?
it's for
And
liability insurance.
I'm not aware that it will.
Well, I think like having certain trainings and understanding like how things work, like does like in some way, because
For
it
the
does.
police
It
department.
will help whether they
Yeah.
lower our rate or not, because we'll make fewer mistakes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the mistakes that's what has caused this rate to go up.
Yeah, by a significant amount.
The other thing was the general liability with the houses.
15% surcharge
Right.
for vacant properties.
I think we can work with them on that. and if
Right, and as
possible,
soon as
could
we sell
reverse
these
this.
off, they're gonna drop that. But that wasn't, we didn't pay that last year, there's another 15% on the general liability portion of this.
So that's new this year?
Yeah. We've got so many vacants. Well, now we've sold sold 6,
Oh, it's up to 6.
and we've got 4 more that were cleared today, got clear title on.
Well, we've sold 3.
Well, we sold 3 with
Housing
Alonzo
had
Reed
Got 4.
and 2 with,
Right. Well, the Beyond Housing,
Housing?
so 3 of the Beyond Housing, we've got 1 to 2 months. One of the Beyond Housing we can go through, it got cleared today. 2 of the ones that we sold through Reed got cleared today. And then, right, there's
Yeah.
a few that we gotta start the process with.
yep.
So, that will drop. I also wonder if there's things we can do like post signs. We gotta talk to them
Post
about
what?
that. Post signs like, you know, we're not liable for anything you do. Because the general liability charges for people, you know, breaking into your house and then getting hurt. And then
So the
suing you
vacant
for it.
property you're
They're,
saying?
yeah, they don't
costs-
even like insuring them. And the 15% is
To
discouraging you
discourage
from even
Yeah.
having those on your books.
Period.
So we're insuring them now? I'm just trying.
We're not insuring the houses, but we have general liability insurance.
They don't want, they'd rather not.
They'd rather not.
So just post signs and then,
They want us to get rid of them.
Yeah, I think it's worth having a conversation about trainings. that
Okay.
they would- Because I feel like a lot of the lawsuits that we had were from ignorance.
No doubt.
So it's good to be not ignorant.
It's very generous.
Can I quote you on that?
Very generous.
All right, moving on.
put that in the book.
Like, yeah.
Yes, quote me
Okay,
on
we're
that.
on page
I'll stop.
We're still on 3 of 5,
3 to
public
5.
safety.
Okay.
Well, so yeah, and so that increases the total admin. There was really no other changes to admin. That increases the total admin by $28,470. You know, most of that is the insurance.
So when you say admin, is that salaries also?
Yeah, so when I refer to admin, I'm referring to the Department of Administration.
Whole department.
The way this is broken out, and this is really our structure, is we have, you know, how many departments do we have? We have administration, public safety, courts, and public works, and then parks, which is just really an arm of public works, so.
So is this incorporating an increase in pay for staff so they don't keep leaving?
In admin specifically,
Wouldn't that be in the budget that we were gonna be talking about pay scale?
yeah, so, and we'll get to that next. I've got this sheet here.
Wait, can you go back to overtime?
Oh, well, this is public safety, so.
Which one are we on?
So I was just wrapping up admin here.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, we'll go
Oh,
down
okay.
into public safety.
Okay.
Uh,
Dude, like a cup.
Thank you.
Compared to last time, okay, so this might get a little off into the weeds. So last time I talked to you guys,
Yeah,
I'm
we
gonna go ahead
discussed
and
that,
pass this
I
out.
thought. You weren't here, yeah, you weren't here, right? The last workshop. Yeah.
So,
A lot of that overtime is detectives,
Oh,
so we hired.
Got six copies, 6 people.
oh, okay.
Just around.
I was like,
Huge,
So,
huge difference.
what I'm passing around is basically the salaries paid. I did have to cut off the supplemental insurance, which is, it's included in that total, so, but the meat and potatoes part is basically the salaries. And I hid any names, but, I mean, all those, are real people. There's a couple that are unfilled, especially in the police department.
okay, so where's the pay? The pay is in the first column on
Yep.
the left.
So it,
Backtracking to our last meeting, the, Captain Sanders, when they were talking about health insurance and copay or premium,
Yes, ma'am.
she had a comment, I don't think we, incorporated that thought. Could you repeat that again?
Sure. So there was a statement made that the city had not increased the rates for the employee insurance in numerous years. And it wasn't that we hadn't increased the rate, we actually changed the insurance plan. Approximately 5 to 6 years ago, the city decided that it could no longer afford the health insurance plan that we were on when I came in 2009. And we had a HRA, so we had a health insurance reimbursement plan that would give the employees, it was a supplemental company where we could fill out our claims and send them our forms, and they would send us up to $1,500 back of our $2,500 maximum out-of-pocket deductible for the employee. And it didn't cover dependents, it was for the employee, and the city couldn't afford that anymore. So they switched us to the plan that we're on now. The plan that we're on now has 2 tiers, there's a gold plan and there's a platinum plan. The gold plan is the more affordable plan, so I always use myself for the example. For an employee and dependents, my health insurance costs per pay period are about $169, $170 a pay period. If I were to elect for the higher end plan, it would cost me roughly $300 to $400 a month. What I was saying is, we had said that there would be consideration given to increasing the employee share of the health insurance cost. And one of the things that I mentioned was we are still in a lower tier regarding our salary. Our salary is substandard concerning police agencies, and that's a lot of the reason why we're losing people. So I was just bringing up that, yes, we gave a 13% pay increase, but if we steal from the pay increase or subsidize the health insurance increase, then we basically wipe out the raise we just gave people. So one of the incentives to police officers when they come here is the fact that the city does have a better health insurance than most other agencies like St. Louis County are able to offer. And when you add in the health insurance benefits, obviously it raises the total salary for the employee. And that's something that we can use as a marketable thing to attract people here. That while we might not be giving you the money in pocket, we have very good health insurance and you're able to better or more adequately take care of your family. So I just wanted everyone to consider that before we.
so that's the argument for not changing it. The argument for changing it is a lot of places have, I believe, is doing some research, it's around industry standard for the employee contribution to be about 13% of the cost of the health insurance plan. Depending on which tier, some of our tiers are around that 13% mark, especially when you get into the premium plans but then some of them are more like 5 or 6% of the employee contribution.
Does that include, HSAs?
No.
No.
We don't,
What are HSAs?
No, this is just
Health
standard.
savings account.
we don't have, no.
Oh,
Is that an option? So like you were saying, we
We also-
also have one or we don't have?
We have an HRA where they would actually reimburse a cost. The HSA, we still have through Beneflex.
Okay.
So we can opt to,
Well, we have an FSA.
yeah, we can opt to enroll in Beneflex and have a pre-portion, it's pre-tax,
Yeah.
come out, you could use that health spend card for prescriptions, childcare, things like that. The bad thing is considering what percent of our police department opts for the platinum plan as opposed to the gold plan, because they're given the option in the 2 tiers.
they're really two separate issues, the FSA, the HSA. We're just talking base health insurance.
Right, base health insurance, how many people enroll in the platinum as opposed to the gold?
Slightly less, but I'll tell you, I mean, these plans are extremely expensive. I mean, we spend, I wish I had,
But we don't have a health insurance quote yet, right?
so.
We have an estimate from Brady.
We do have a
Do we
quote
do
now.
one?
So, and that just came in yesterday. We underwrit everyone, and Allstate decided not to quote us due to the overall health conditions of the, they basically
group.
said it won't be worth your time. So it basically, we were on a, affordable, Affordable Care
ACA
Act.
plan.
Yeah, we're on an
Affordable Care
Affordable
Act.
Care Act plan where they don't take into consideration your health. They just do like industry averages. And so basically.
So we used to be on a free market plan,
Right.
and it got too expensive,
So you have,
so they
yeah,
put us in an ACA.
you have two choices. You can go to free market plan, and if everyone's really healthy, it's cheaper.
So we're getting, let me understand. It's costing us more because our police officers are not as healthy?
No, we couldn't go into a free market plan. The free market plan wouldn't be worth our while. It would be too expensive because of the health of the group.
So the health of the group is
We-
not that
we-
great?
And it's not just the group,
Well-
it's dependents as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's the
It's
entire.
Also, you cannot discriminate.
yeah, that's what I'm
But they're
thinking, like, how do you, but they're discriminating.
So, I mean,
They're telling us
no,
that
I'm
quotes
saying,
are
I'm
rate
saying
is
we
just
can't
gonna be
make
too
hiring
expensive.
decisions based on like.
No, I'm saying that,
We can't
Yeah, we
discriminate,
can't.
they can discriminate.
Right.
The insurance company,
It's a
okay.
hedge against risk.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So we couldn't go back to a free market plan. We're kind of stuck in the Affordable Care Act plan.
I could tell you what the feds did. When I retired 3 years ago, I was, until 2 years before I retired, for 33 years, I didn't even take a pill. Then all of a sudden, in a year and a half, I had 2 open heart surgeries. So I'm high risk to them now. I wasn't for 33 years. So they offered buyouts for people like me in order to get their insurance rate down. Did I explain it right?
That's exactly what's happening. We could get a quote from the free market, but it's going to be more expensive than what we're already paying on.
So
the-
to answer the question, yeah, rates are based on the overall health. Everybody filled out a survey, and they determined that the overall health of the employee pool in the city of Normandy would not be worth it for us to change.
Yeah, it's better to stay on an ACA plan.
Yes.
So, but what are we changing then if we're staying
So,
on that plan?
then we get to stick with the 6% increase that we were quoted. So,
Oh,
Which, adjusted for inflation, is not bad. Ish.
yeah, so, and there's also questions about, who's on the gold plan and who's on the platinum plan. We have 22 employees on the gold plan right now and 10 on the platinum plan.
And the reason the
Okay.
people opt for gold is because it's what's affordable for them and their families. The platinum is relatively unaffordable given the salary.
Right,
So-
right, it's salary based, I get it.
So what's the difference then, Officer Sanders? Captain
You're fine,
Sanders?
you're fine.
With the 6%, is that,
The increase?
yeah, I mean,
So basically the way that Kelly Floyd broke it down, she actually gave us a packet and it showed the increase across every health care line item that we have, vision, dental. And I do distinctly remember that the health plan was roughly an additional $3,000 a month. It was between $2,500 to $3,000 a month, and that's the 6% increase.
So we've heard the rationale for not increasing employee participation and the reason to do it. What did you put in this budget?
So, I gotta work it out, because what I put in this budget is an average. And
where is it?
kind of a placeholder average, so it's on that salaries page, it's under health insurance.
For public safety, 10-603.
the 3315.
So,
Thank you.
and so that, now that we know that we're sticking with the ACA plan, we'll get that ironed out to the exact numbers. But I think we're gonna look at, you know, some tiers will get an increase. And we can just make that decision as the employer. I know I personally will be infected. I'm only paying $25 a pay period for health insurance, right? I mean, it's.
'Cause you're on the gold
it's
plan, right?
Gold, yeah, gold
He's gold
single.
single.
Yeah, I mean,
But gold
That's
platinum.
crazy
I mean,
cheap, though.
platinum single is $75 for health insurance,
which
and
is
then the,
still
Really cheap.
pretty cheap. I mean,
Very
it-
cheap.
so,
so for single people, it will be easy, but people with families such as myself,
and I'll let you, well, hold on, if you give me a second, I'll pull it up. I got it somewhere on the phone here.
I know when they gave me the two options, and I looked at one and I said, so wait a minute, after taxes, this is my paycheck.
Well,
So-
and to be fair, it's not just like we're, you know, platinum plan, we're passing it off on the employee. The platinum plan is extremely more expensive for the employer as well. I mean, it's
It's scaled.
it's one of the best plans you can get at UHC.
It is.
And the gold plan is also one of the best, you know, mid-tier plans you can get at UHC. And we don't even offer low plans, I mean, so, and it's a,
So are we willing then to change it and then know that incoming applicants to the police force may be looking at that and,
I'm one that I would like to see it stay the same if it's at all possible.
And that may be what we do, but if that's the case, we have to find some cuts somewhere
No,
else.
I get it, I'm just saying, we all gotta be reasonable, but I understand what you're saying. For someone that comes and life insurance says I'm uninsurable now.
Right, yeah.
Since I've had two heart operations, they won't touch me.
It's one of the great things that we do. St. Louis County just, they rolled out this one-to-one where they're willing to give you 1 year of police tier on their pay scale for every year of police service you have. So someone with 5 years of experience, they're 5 years into the St. Louis County tier. And so we have patrolmen that literally could walk out the door right now and they would go, if I went to St. Louis County right now, I'd make $87,000 a year as a patrolman. So our insurance is one of the things that I use as a recruitment tool when I'm speaking to applicants. I break out St. Louis County's pay, and then I put their health insurance up there, and I say, but you're paying $500 a pay period for insurance. So if we, amateurize that, go ahead and drop $6,000 off your salary right now, looking a little more like Normandy, right? And so then I use that, and people, when they're looking at the brass tacks of it,
Apples.
they're like, oh, so really you guys pay the same thing.
I think the important part is that we definitely consider it, because if we don't think about it and we don't even really use it to sell it, then it's, it's a lose either way.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're doing right now. On the gold plan for employee only, it's $25 a pay period. For employee spouse, it's $80. For employee children, it's $75. For the family, it's $135. On the platinum plan, on the other side, it starts out employee only $75. Employee spouse $240. Employee children $225. Family platinum $340. I mean, depending on that.
that's a lot.
So you say 340 for most people. are
But like, so that
$700.
340, if you have a platinum family, and you say you have 4 kids, it can cost $20,000 for the city to pay for your health insurance plan. So that's so at 340 sounds like a lot, but depending on, it could be worth it for them.
340 don't sound like a lot.
No.
Right,
Okay.
okay, right.
I say that.
That's why I
for
said
myself.
compared
Yeah.
to what county is paying those rates.
And I
Yeah.
could- I could tell you this about the county, my brother's worked there 44 years. His deductible on his health insurance is $1,200. He can't afford to retire.
Do you know what our deductible is? My max out of pocket is $2,500 per person. So with me, an employee plus 4 children, my max out of pocket is $10,000 a year. You can never,
Wait,
you'll
you
never.
don't even have a family deductible?
No, it's per person.
Oh,
Per person.
It's per person.
Yeah.
So every person has to hit that tier.
mine is because I, as the policyholder, if me individually, $1,000 deductible, but as my family, all three of us together, if we hit 2,500 in a year, we're fine. That's our deductible.
Express Scripts is $10,000 a year. My daughter just had all kinds of chemo and whatever, cancer.
And she has to come up with $10,000.
$10,000. They would not even operate on her unless she came up with extra money.
And the funny thing is, with ours, it doesn't just stop at the 2,500.
Yeah.
There's still co-insurance that's due. So if you go get any, like if you get an MRI, you still get a co-insurance bill. It's not considered out of pocket, it's considered co-insurance. So
And that's through Express Scripts.
Yeah.
it's
It
finicky.
hurts. It hurts.
Yes. Let's move on. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of the salary, well, I guess we should just, okay, so back to the salaries and what changed. So, we had, let me double check the numbers here. The police department has traditionally, well, I don't know, I've been told different things. So, last time we talked to you, we had a 30-man police department. Really 30 and a half with the police clerk, which is a civilian position. So, at Mayor Beckman's recommendation was that we cut the 4th detective spot from the budget. Maybe not necessarily from the manpower, but just being realistic, we're not gonna reach 30, for our full staffing, and so why budget for it? That'll probably be the last one to get filled. I don't know how the police department feels like completely about that, but we
I know
certainly
the
have,
position that we've contractually obligated for.
yeah.
For
So,
one in Bell Ridge, one in Cool Valley, and my thought would be one for Normandy, and they're gonna team and pool and work cooperatively anyway.
Say that one more time.
Well, we're contractually obligated to have a detective for Cool Valley
Correct.
and one for Bell Ridge, and we'll have one for Normandy.
Normandy has two. It's the caseload that dictates
Right,
whether we
but-
offered a detective.
But we've been managing with overtime with two. We hire that third one. Oh, I'd love to just, write everything we need. Revenue is our problem.
I understand.
And we have to, someplace, we have to manage
I
the
would pull
budget.
that second, do we have one I would pull from the traffic card before I would pull from the bureau.
well, okay, I mean.
Either or, it's a
And
position.
that is really the discretion of the police department, because as far as the budget, the bottom line, it's the same
Is a
either way.
person, yep.
It's a person.
Yeah.
So,
That's
so we're
That's
talking,
fine.
and.
What's from the detective or?
The traffic
So
card.
we have 2 traffics,
We ideally should have 2 traffic officers running the highway.
We have zero
but
now.
we don't have any.
Correct.
So we need.
And
so
it's
this-
reflected in our tickets.
Yeah.
So this
I agree.
is, these 2 traffics have not been hired.
We haven't had the manpower to fill
Okay.
them.
Yeah.
So the 2 traffics on here haven't been hired, and then the 1 detective on here?
2.
The 2.
Well,
We're short
and
7
again,
people right now.
that decision's gonna be made at the police level.
Right.
But we have a lot of complaints about traffic. It's
Oh my
got to
goodness.
get,
Right, well, yeah, the other thing, we currently don't have a lieutenant, we are running the process right now. Of
Correct.
course, once we get a lieutenant, we will lose the sergeant, or, I don't know who's all eligible, but
We
we'll lose.
have the position for sergeant already.
Well, yeah, so if we fill a lieutenant spot, we'll lose the sergeant's position, and we'll have to fill
So
one.
which
but-
ones aren't
Yeah, I see what you're
filled
saying.
now on here?
So
Lieutenant,
Where is it? On the next page.
2 detectives, a lieutenant, 2 traffic officers, and 4 patrolmen?
two patrolmen.
2 patrolmen,
Yeah,
okay.
that's right.
So 2 officers.
Yeah,
And
we're
one of
short
those
7.
patrolmen is technically a corporal, so yeah, that's unfilled. But either way, the change from, so last time I talked to everyone, I know you weren't here, Councilman King, but I had made some cuts in the police department budget, being realistic about how fast we're gonna hire people. So on 3 positions, I said, I cut it in half, because
Cut what in half?
their pay basically, because, you know, that's kind of assuming that 3 of those people will come in halfway through the year.
Okay.
Right, so I got rid of that for tonight, and then, but I also got rid of a position. It actually increased the budget a little bit. I still think, so, and we've, you know, I mean, we'll see how the academy goes, but we gotta talk about, you know, how fast, how realistic can we hire people? And then if we do come across some people, are we gonna have to turn people away, say, we can't take you on yet until this time?
And if we do that, then they're gone.
Right, so that's kind of the risk. It's kind of the risk
We
you're
can
playing.
hope.
Also, we're, you know, with Chief Hall announcing his resignation, we're gonna run a process for a new chief. And there's that to consider as well, and what that might do to the budget, so. Yeah, so that's what's kind of the overtime you asked about. The overtime is in the detective bureau. I think once we get the 3rd detective, that, and certainly if we had a 4th detective, that would go way down. But there's just, especially when we're understaffed like we are, there's just a need for overtime from time to time in the police department. Police officers work like, I mean, they work like dogs. If they're not working here, they're working secondary. And we certainly need them being so understaffed. And there's just times that it's gonna pop up. You know, some people wait till 5 and they, you know, out the door at 4:59. Well, an officer can't do that if someone got shot at 4:58, right? They gotta respond to the call. So, and we try and manage that with either comp time or scheduling, but I think it is a good idea to budget in some overtime.
Yes.
To kind of cover that. But as we get to full staff, I think overtime will go down considerably. Okay. So all the highlights there were mostly around the changes. This is going back to the main budget page. I reduced the miscellaneous, and I didn't highlight it, but I increased the supply. So
What page are you on?
I'm
$305.
talking about line items 10641 and 10660. So Detective Sergeant Beekman submitted his budget for the Detective Bureau, which was very worked out and I think very reasonable as well. So I did increase the supplies because for some of his specific needs that weren't really accounted for last time I talked to you. And then to account for some of that, I decreased the miscellaneous, because a large part of the miscellaneous I had budgeted was for Major K Squad.
Like, what are those supplies? It's not paper clips.
You speaking for the Bureau?
I got the sheet on my desk if you want, she's got it right there. There you go.
Clearly, we not paying for paper clips.
They have to use a lot of CDs, they have to use a lot of,
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Those aren't the numbers I'm looking at on my sheet here.
so I didn't even pass these out. So here's the worksheet for the police department. This is probably the biggest one anyways. You want to pass this around, Council?
Yeah, on the budget itself says supplies supplies $1,750, down from $13,500 the year before.
You're in the right department.
Where are you? I don't think you're
Let me
in.
make sure. You said 10-6,
You're at
10641,
he's on
3 of 5.
right here.
Are you on 10648?
okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
you were in
gotcha.
course.
All right,
But if you go to, and then on this worksheet, you can flip to 10641, and you can see, I've got it up on the screen, if you can see that from where you're sitting, but, you know, supplies as business cards. Officers go through a lot of business cards. They have to write report numbers, citation books, ammo, office supplies, and then the detective bureau alone is the one that you're looking at in front of you.
And the police department gets ammo at discounted.
Yeah.
As it is.
How is your supply of ammo? Is it?
Right now, we're actually kind of, we haven't tapped into the 22 ammo that we just purchased right before Lieutenant George left. We're actually getting ready to break into that now. We've actually decreased the amount of qualifications that we were doing just until we could see where we're looking for next year. We're mandated by insurance and by state statute to train twice a year, but we'd ideally like to train our officers quarterly in firearms, and then
Sure.
Yeah, it's
we're
usually
working on getting some free rifles from the Department of Defense, because our rifles are, our guns are really, not our handguns, but our long guns are really old.
M1s, is that what you're talking about?
ARs. We carry ARs.
How much ammo?
You know, I'll tell you what,
We had some ammo that got damaged as well when the building flooded.
By the way,
as
we
well.
might be able to,
Oh,
if it's significant, we might be able to,
File an insurance claim.
yeah,
Okay. I'll let you read.
like not a MOPR insurance claim, like a MSD will pay for it.
Okay.
I
I'll
just-
let Gary know.
I just had someone call me about that the other day, I forgot to tell you, so.
Thank
So,
you,
yeah,
sir.
we're in the process of trying to
Just
source
before I forget.
firearms, like long guns for free and things
Things are
like
right
that,
now.
to try to ease some of this.
do you keep track of how many rounds go through each weapon?
The firearms instructors do.
Okay.
They build the qualifications course, and Detective Corporal Robinson and Sergeant Gary are actually working on modifying our qualifications course, where we shoot less rounds, but it's a more comprehensive
How many
training.
rounds do you consider to be approaching the usable life of an AR-15, for example?
That's a great question for our firearms instructor.
Okay, I'm just curious, it really matters. When you say our weapons are old,
Oh, they are.
old is how many rounds went through?
We've been training on
That's
these.
not age, yeah.
We've been training on these rifles for about a decade now.
Okay.
And we got them for free from the Department of Defense, so when we're done with them, we just need to return them to them. So they give them to you for free, but
Yeah,
you know, you can't
okay,
sell
no.
them. So we're working on.
That would be an interesting
Replacing some
information to have, though.
And they only provide rifles, so our shotguns are very old. Our shotguns are from 2009, when I first, they're old. So, I mean, we're doing the best with what we have, but we're kind of trying to cycle away from the shotguns and move more into the rifles, because we can get them for free.
Okay, thank you.
And, what's his name, Corporal Gary, or Sergeant Gary now, he actually will have, all my officers have to have their individualized budgets to me by next Wednesday. So next Friday, I should be able to put together a packet of actual budget line items from every department that has an expense, and then, get that to Sam and the mayor.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is captured already, because this is basically looked at from what we spent last year. And what is not captured and what we can't afford, there is some interdiction money that we could potentially use to purchase equipment items, one-time purchases. So, yeah, and we'll look at that once it's in. I did want to point out one thing on here, and it's not on what you have, but I have it off in the margins on mine. Looking at just the operating revenue,
It's
This is-
120.
this is operating revenue for the police department. Last year it was 278, 2.8 million, and it has actually gone up by $8,000 to basically 2.8 million. So it's staying almost flat from last year. Now, that's pretty good considering that I don't know, but you also have to consider that we lost police contracts from last year. So, yeah, that's a small increase in the operating. You'll see that it looks like it went down on just the bottom line, and that's because of we're purchasing less police vehicles, and that's a capital expenditure. And I'm going to talk to Angela about it. It should be fairly easy to do. By the time we get to the final budget to pass, I may break out the capital expenditures into their own budget. That's really better practice.
Which you also mentioned at the last workshop, I believe, right?
Did I? Okay.
Yeah, because it was how it should be designated so that it's more concise and it's more accurate.
Well, and it's been difficult because we're, trying to get up on our feet, but really you should have a 5-year capital improvement plan.
Fair.
And then an operating budget every year. So,
Can we, the ARPA funds that we use for the new vehicles, should that be in here?
That was.
oh. Mhm. That's a good question.
Where are you looking, Yolanda? Oh, you're working on the
10,695.
worksheet.
10,695.
You know what? Is it in there? Hold on. Let me look at that. You're right, it shouldn't be. No, it shouldn't be and it won't be. Because, yeah, that's gonna be on this year's budget, and we passed a budget amendment last time doing that anyways. So,
It's kind of there, but it's not.
well, no, on the final budget, that 137,000 won't be there, because it's on,
Another category?
no, it's actually on this year's budget.
He already
Oh,
used
that's
it.
right, you said that, actually.
So this is gonna be lower.
Right, but that's why really you should break capital expenditures out, because the operating is kind of like already parsed that out. So I apologize for that, that's just an oversight.
Sam, on the revenues page, first page, where are the police contracts?
Police contracts. They are down in.
I see it now, I'm sorry. yeah.
10,435. Now, that is police and courts, off the top of my head, about $40,000 of that is actually courts.
Okay,
Running out of battery,
The
that's
first
okay.
page on this one.
We'll be okay.
Telling yourself or you're telling the computer?
can I drag you an extension cord?
No, it's fine. I think we can, even if the computer dies, we can still, I've got it all printed out, so.
You're on page 2?
Oh, it was just a line item I couldn't find. It was contractual income.
Excuse me.
That was on 2.5.
5.
See, last year we had budgeted
Oh, yeah,
1.4 million.
10,516.
We actually brought in, well, so we budgeted 1.44, we brought in 1.38, and this year we're budgeting 1.3. So, there's the Pasadena Park contract, which will hopefully be finalized by the time we pass our budget. That will be
Next Monday.
not this Monday, but next Monday, yeah.
So cutting it close, but, okay.
Well, that's, that's their terms,
Yeah,
so.
right.
And, okay, any questions about the police department? Do you have any questions about the police department?
Any input, not just questions, but input, Captain, from the police?
Sure, we're working on some great things. Sergeant Larson and the supervisory staff have just drafted an on-call policy. We are in the finalization of our draft phase, what the on-call policy would do, and of course, this needs to go before the city attorney for review, but it would create a schedule that would reduce some of that overtime budget that you guys are seeing where we're paying people or giving people comp time to come in. We're actually going to start mandating on-call days where you will have so many off days a month, and then on your off days, you will be first, second, or third on call. They can be switched with other people, and they do not run consecutively with any pre-planned training or vacation. We've done some research into this, and we've checked the legality on what the city's obligation is to pay people who are considered to be on call. And what we found by all accounts and purposes is federal guidelines just dictate that so long as the city allows the person a reasonable time to make notification and respond, the city is not obligated to compensate that person as an on-call employee until they're actually activated, so long as the activation has time. Again, we've got a special order that we hope to pass. Special orders are good for 1 year, and the chief just needs to basically send it out as an executive order. That should be reviewed and hopefully in place starting next week. And we've got a draft schedule for our employees. We're working on a reserve program. Our reserves historically have had no governance, no policies that govern what their obligations to the city are. We've placed Sergeant Larson in charge of the Reserve Division, and he's created some draft policy for the reserve program. And what we're hoping to do is we actually have about a half a dozen reserves out there that carry our badge, carry our gun, and very few of them, perform any obligations to the city. We, again, consulted state statute and talked to some other departments and sourced some information to glean how we should handle this. And we're actually hoping to implement that as well within the next couple of weeks. So that'll be additional personnel that will be coming into the police department where their obligation will be to fulfill so many hours a month of free time that we're not obligated
Gives
to
us a
pay
half a
them for.
dozen shifts a month.
So we have six of them now in the reserve?
Correct. We have 6 reserve officers on our post roster currently right now.
And this change is big because how many hours have those 6 people worked in the past 6 months?
Historically, one of them is new to the reserve program. It was a sergeant that actually just kind of stepped down to a reserve to keep from leading all the way until he just decided what he really wanted to do. We've had some conversations with him, and he's actually going to stick with it, and he's going to fulfill the requirements. But historically, there were no requirements. There was nothing that obligated these people to do anything. We just kind of willy-nilly handed out badges and guns on, goodwill that these people would lend some of their services. One of the members of our reserve department is a member of the St. Louis County Prosecutor's Office, Wesley Bell's office. And so when that credential was given or that extension was made, it was under the impression that it would lend some assistance with our agency in the prosecutor's office. We haven't, benefited from it, so why?
How much does it cost a person?
It doesn't cost us anything.
Only when they're attacked.
It doesn't cost us, I mean, if they come and work, their uniform and things, that costs. And then there's also just the general liability.
But we're covering them under general liability anyways, because they're
The
employees.
gun and a badge and a vest whenever it expires.
And we just don't want people out there just carrying our badge and our gun, and what does the city get from it? So it's a quid pro quo kind of world. If you want something from the city, you want to keep these credentials, it gives you the ability to work secondary employment. You've got to come to the first area. So, we're working on that. And then, we got a lot of great things rolling out. So hopefully, I know we talked about overtime budget a little bit. I just want to throw this out there since you guys are the decision makers now. With this overtime budget, once, and I'm saying once, in anticipation of the fact that we will be able to get back up to our department full staffing, we're changing our recruitment strategies, and we're actually going to be hiring people out of the academy. And I've got a really good incentivized spiel that I'm going to deliver, and hopefully I'll come back next week with 4 new employees from the police academy. But with that said, historically, the city of Normandy would allow an overtime budget, and they would push it out in small increments of about $2,500 at a time, and we could sign people up for traffic details in the heavy traffic corridors. Mainly on Bermuda Road, if you guys remember, you used to see the police all the time up there in front of the school, because those fines are not covered by Max Creek. So Max Creek is you can't exceed 20% of general revenue, and the supplemental or the remainder has to go to the state. They're not covered. School zone citations are not covered by Max Creek, along with hazardous moving violations on the highway. So that's why we pushed the school zones, because they're double fines and they're not covered by, there is no cap on how much revenue.
And there's little kids who walk in there.
And it also enhances the public safety mission in those busy corridors. So that would be Natural Bridge, Bermuda Road, anywhere where there's schools present. If we could bring those back, we pay the officers time and a half, but there is a performance standard. It's not a quota, but there's a performance standard that says that if you're out there, you should be able to, in a 1-hour period, generate 3 summonses. The 3 summonses more than cover the 1 hour of overtime.
With the number of citizen complaints we've had, that shouldn't be a difficult chore.
Also, the talk about the 20%, and we're nowhere close to the 20%.
Right.
I mean,
Does the school zone?
The city collects 100% of those fines.
Oh, does that matter at like the different time of day when the school's operating? Like it's not.
It will be during school zone, during daytime hours when our traffic population is heaviest. So, again, Bermuda Road, our traffic population is heavier during the daytime hours and especially during school times. Right here on Natural Bridge, I mean, that school's open, we've got St. Anne's School, so we've got this entire corridor that we can stick our officers in on an overtime detail. And we do it in 4-hour increments, 6-hour increments, and a lot of the officers will do it when they get off from their shift in the morning, they stay and they work the detail. In the evenings, they stay, they work the details, so it's convenient for them. We keep the overtime in town, we keep the supplemental bodies in town, because yes, it's great to have extra officers in town working those traffic details, but you know, God forbid something comes out, we've already got the extra manpower in town too. So it incentivizes our people to come to town, so I just wanna throw that out there as hopefully, an end to a means where we can solve one problem and also benefit on the other end to some degree.
Would South Florissant with UMSL there be another zone?
Unfortunately, no, it's secondary, education.
Because it's state, yeah.
Yeah.
And what about the fountain?
So it's on Natural Bridge, so we wouldn't necessarily sit at the fountain, we'd have to sit in view of the school zone, which we could use St. Anne's School or any of the Normandy School
Epworth, would
Collaborative.
Epworth be?
Epworth technically doesn't count, no.
Private.
But
That's right next to a
What about
school.
St. Vincent?
St. Vincent's doesn't count either because they're kind of like a transitional home and knowing when they're not necessarily a school zone. So St.
But
Anne's is a school
sometimes
zone and right here, these
Really?
have been dubbed school zones.
Well, there's that academy down, Oakmont, that looks like it's a school, tutorials, I don't know, you might, they're not.
It's more the roadway.
That's how the day.
What makes something a school zone?
The way that it's zoned, you'll see the crosswalks. The state of Missouri actually determines where the school zones are. And it's so many feet
But
from the
not if
school.
not if a child is being schooled there.
No.
Oh, okay.
I did want to ask though, I'm sorry for slightly diverting. With these schools here along Natural Bridge, is there a reason why for school zones, the speed limit along Natural Bridge is still 30 as opposed to 15 in other affluent areas?
I think that because this is MO 115.
Right, it's a
It's a
state
state
highway.
route.
Yeah.
So if we want to do anything with that, we really need to get a representative from MoDOT to come into one of the meetings, and we'd have to have some buy-in from the community.
Yeah, sure.
It'd be
Remind
good
me.
to have some,
Address that.
Gladly.
it'd be good to have some parents and some people like that.
Yeah.
By the way, now we're just really getting off topic, but,
Yeah.
I mean, this
So
is
that's
budget meeting.
good,
But,
good budget things that will hopefully ease some of these budget
and
issues.
we can follow this at the regular session, but we were talking to MoDOT about some of the landscaping on Natural Bridge, and you're talking to UMSL about it, and apparently Florissant Road, they have a plan to address it. They have an ADA requirement that they have to meet specifically around that bridge. And so by like 2027 or something, they have to fix it. Why they haven't been talking to us, UMSL was like, I don't know why they haven't been talking to us. Maybe in the turmoil, they tried to reach out and no one, I don't know.
Sure.
But we're gonna try and reach out to them and let them know what our input
In our
is.
face.
Is that
Right.
everyone wants?
I've got there were some real good ideas discussed. Let's talk later. Stick to the budget now, but there's some really good ideas generated about that issue that are gonna be really cheap and a temporary fix until no, we don't wanna wait till 2027. But anyway, let's move on with the budget.
Oh, thank you, Kevin.
No worries, does anybody have any other police-related line items?
No. Can't think of any.
You want to be excused?
Please.
I didn't catch the cue there.
I got a 5-year-old that's waiting for me,
Thank
so,
you for being
Yeah, thank you.
thank you guys.
Thank her for your absence for us.
Not a problem at all. It's good to see you guys.
Always.
That's some good stuff.
And this is a better meeting than the Glen Echo, when I just had to tell them they didn't have any tickets written, but they finally got a court, so hopefully we can change that now. You guys have a great evening.
Thank you.
Take care.
Be safe.
All right, well, the judicial, still open to any questions, well, I don't like that it's called judicial, the courts.
What page?
305, bottom of the page.
Page 3 and page 4, there was no changes from last time. That being said, it's a pretty bare bones department, really. It's, again, this is three and a half court clerks, and then now Bree is our part-time prosecuting attorney assistant. That's all reflected in here.
I was like more concerned about the loss of revenue from yesterday. Was it? What's today?
Thursday.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Which one?
From the report that they're,
Yeah, the court revenue, so that's back on the first page. You know,
financial report.
so
What line item is it, sorry?
on the
I
first
see it.
page, 421, fines,
Thank you.
forfeitures, and penalties. You know, this used to be a lot higher for this city. This has really funded a lot of the operation in the city. But, you know, since COVID and before, it's been really down. They budgeted we budgeted $230,000 last year. I projected 174 when I did the revenue projections. It could be lower than that, honestly. And then I budgeted 250 for the courts, which is reasonable. Please get back up to staff, and as our court staff gets more familiar and comfortable, I think it's possible.
The courts are starting to run much more efficiently.
I'm just wondering how long we can keep keep this up.
Yeah, if it doesn't turn
Because
around,
by
then
next year, we can't have a quarter. We're already at negative 47%.
well, that negative 47. So it is negative, but again, that's one of the things we're eliminating with this budget. Part of that was the
Designations.
between contract and non-contract. But with that said, it is really, on the expenditure side, they didn't budget for the judge's salary. I don't know.
What?
We did this year, but last year. What page is that on?
I saw
it?
That will be line item 10613. You'll see that last year we budgeted $18,000. We ended up paying 74. Some of that was back, was
10-6-1-3.
Where are you?
10613A.
Professional services?
Professional service.
Yeah, this is
613.
the judge's salary and the prosecuting attorney's salary. This is on page 4, yeah.
Oh, your screen went to us.
Yeah, it's dead. So we're just doing paper. The Zoom's still going though, so.
It's, you see it?
No, I'm seeing 10613.
It's professional fees.
Yeah.
And it
Oh,
says
there it is.
18,000, yeah.
So 18,000 what was budgeted last year, we're projected to come at 74,000. Part of that was because of an unpaid invoice towards the beginning of the year. So it kind of inflated it. But I budgeted 40,000. It's to pay for the judge and the prosecuting attorney.
Is that enough?
It's enough. Yeah.
So there was a 34, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, 30. There was a,
Unpaid invoice.
56.
yeah, it came over from the previous year. And
Yeah, we were still catching up on bills.
same thing happened in the accounting fees and the legal fees. So,
But within this, so the staff, are they getting paid a reasonable salary that they would stay?
I think so.
What is the salary that I'm not seeing?
On the other, so
Yeah,
our court clerks were starting out at 17 now.
Court clerk.
That's part-time included. There's Yolanda and then 2 part-time.
Yeah, they look better. Where did Bree go, you said? So she's still within the system?
She works part-time, and she's just the prosecuting attorney, so that's kind of getting off in the weeds, but she just enters tickets now. Before she
She's
was.
still with us, but
She's
not
still with us.
in
In a
the
part-time
city.
capacity. She got another full-time job. We
Oh,
couldn't compete with
that's-
the
okay.
salary that she was offered.
Yeah.
But she did agree to work evenings, 3 nights a week, as our prosecuting attorney's assistant.
Okay.
Fantastic.
She was here Tuesday during the meeting.
Yes, she was.
She was in the.
So there's been an uptick in, I mean, you can't predict the future. If you could you tell me some lottery numbers?
Right.
But,
And in addition to that,
yeah.
Pass them around.
Like, what do you think, like, because I would hate to, like, what I don't want it to be is, I mean, they hear the same numbers that we do, and then, you know, if I were a betting person and looking at the writing on the wall, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would,
Our police clerk that we're bringing on is actually a court administrator at a different court.
Mhm.
And the reason why he started looking for a job is because they were looking at eliminating their court department. And so that's why he's.
So like, do you
Lucky
think
us.
that we're going to see
So one thing
a swing in the other way?
one thing to consider
Other
is we do receive some contract revenue from courts.
Yeah.
It does help with some of our police contracts as well. So there is some value there, even if it doesn't, you know, even if the expenditures on the court are, you know, look more than the revenues, there's some of that is contract revenue, so you have to account for that. Some of it's contract revenue that really just helps with the police contracts. So, but yeah, if things don't turn around, it would probably make more sense for the city to go to a contract.
Who do we have now with courts? We have,
Country Club Hills, Hillsdale, and all but 2 of our police contracts. Basically, Cool Valley, Pasadena Park, Hillsdale Country Club, Cool Valley, Pasadena Park, and Bell Reeve Acres.
so I know that Glen Echo went with county. Who's the other that we don't have, that we have a police? Oh, Bell Ridge.
Bell Ridge, yeah.
Bell Ridge.
but that'll
Glen
change
Echo
with the
may come
merger.
back as if we merge.
Well, if we merge, we'll just
We'll
be
do
one
it
city.
city,
They won't
yeah.
need the.
They don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the reason why, and I don't really know why they did it exactly, because we weren't charging for them either, but, so county does like a per ticket rate. So if you have very few tickets, like Glen Echo, it just makes sense to go to St. Louis County, because you won't pay. You won't pay unless something happens, and then they just put you in on their docket, right? So, but, right, so going to that, it's a problem. Not only, I mean, the revenue of the court doesn't hardly pays for the clerks. And part of that is a lot of the laws that have changed. It went from from my understanding, and I'm not a court clerk, it went from a fairly easy system to use to now there's a very specialized software that people get trained up on, and when they get trained up on it, they become hot commodities and very valuable, and it drives up wages. And then also, some of the laws, I think, probably justly changed to where, you know, there was people who had to pay a lot more for a ticket if they failed to appear. So that's a whole nother conversation, but impacts the budget, so. Any questions about courts?
So are you saying that we'll be looking for other municipalities to use our courts?
That's potentially one thing, but, you know, once you bring on enough people, you're gonna need more clerks, and so it has to be worth it. I know we've had a few cities kind of put out feelers, but, we gotta get stuff in order, before we take.
We had opportunities that we
Missed.
declined on because we had to get our own house in order to.
So you can revisit those once
Yes.
this is
I
established?
think we can.
And I think with the steps that our administration have taken and the steps that our citizens have taken in the last few months, that should also reflect in our neighboring municipalities as
I think
to
so, yeah.
how things work and how everyone's trying to get back on track.
I think that's very true. Thank you.
At least from the comments that I've gotten from people outside of Normandy, from, you know, Bell Reeve Acres, or from Pasadena Park or Pasadena Hills, for instance.
All right.
What are the contractual services?
On the front, oh,
6168.
that is Regis,
Oh,
which is a software. Why it's, the names on some of these are questionable, is that really a contract? But, that, maybe you could argue that's a subscription, but at the end of the day, it's Regis, which
why,
is one of the
but
softwares.
why was it so much and then it's going back down to 10? You know what I mean?
We actually, so we've eliminated softwares that we don't need. Part of that is the state eliminating some softwares that you don't need. So I said it was Regis. Actually, Courts is getting rid of Regis, and they're slowly transferring it over to all Show Me Courts. So before we were kind of paying for both services, now we're looking at eliminating one of those services because the state says you can't even use it anymore.
So we were paying for softwares that we didn't need and now those are good.
Well,
Well, wasn't that a lot of that?
we needed them when we were paying for them.
Oh.
I mean, there, this is getting outside my realm of expertise, and Yolanda could probably tell you, but, Yolanda Robinson, but,
Because I don't know nothing.
right, one of my, my understanding is, yeah, they used to, like warrants used to be in Regis, now they're in Show Me Courts, so there's a transition period. Once we get out of the transition period, then we don't need Regis anymore. But there's quite a bit of work that needs to be done to get all the stuff out of Regis into Show Me Courts.
So now it's gonna go back to the reg.
Right, and, you know what you asked? Oh, this one cut off. My computer's dead. I'll just double check and make sure that's right, but I'm pretty confident in that number. Also, with adjusting to the budget, there could have been something that's coded in there right now that maybe shouldn't be coded in there. That's possible. But
What about the supplies?
Yeah, that
What
was.
are we buying?
the supplies
Is that paper
was.
clips? It's paper clips.
So where are you?
Does that include computers?
500.
Printers?
It includes computers, so part of this is
On
things,
page, here.
yeah. So,
Oh my gosh, 13.
so there are some supplies, you'd be, there's a lot of special file jackets that you have to special order. Things
Yeah,
of
but
that
that's like
nature.
2.5 times as much.
All right,
What do we
so
pay
the
for?
capital outlay here, that got reflected in supplies, and I need to talk to Angela to get that fixed.
Is that the copy? What did you say?
It's the computers.
Oh.
Some of that 1350 is ARPA money, is what it comes down to.
For computers?
Yeah.
Does that
It's not all of
also
it.
the copy machine? That we
So that 5,500
Uh-huh.
is in that 1350. It's just on a different line, and it needs to be fixed.
Oh, so that 5,500 came out of the 13,500?
Yeah, that's part
So
of it.
it got
And then
counted
in
twice?
addition, that's still $8,000 we're talking about, but,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, so, yeah, I'm still not. So what's the 8,000 for then?
Supplies.
My computer's dead. I can pull up the, actually.
Oh, you said your computer's dead.
Let me, excuse me, I have something printed out that I should be able to.
I'll be right back too. Find a trash can.
I gotta call my kids.
But yeah, I think it's a great disservice to our community, to our kids. If I could go back to the speed limit along Natural Bridge, for instance, like you go anywhere else in the St. Louis area, if it's a school zone and it's, between 7 a.m. and 4 p.m.,
Yeah.
it's 15 miles an hour, period.
See, Bermuda up there is 25, and I tried to get it changed, and they blew me off 10 years ago because I wanted it to drop in that area
Right.
for the kids,
Yeah,
because they've had some close calls up there.
yeah, no doubt. That's unacceptable
If you
to
put
me.
down 25, they're gonna go through a lot faster than 25.
Yes, exactly. And that's accounting for egregious violations. Like, you know, again, if it's set at 25, yeah.
You're gonna
people
go
are
through
gonna
30
40.
and not get a ticket. You go
Right.
40, you're nailed.
Yeah, exactly. So again, make it commensurate, right? Make it so that it is worthwhile. And again, we're not, as a municipality, we're not trying to target anybody. We're not trying to extort people. It's not the point. The point is y'all need to slow down. Like, you have to slow
Well,
down.
other municipalities have that intact, why aren't we? Why are we given such a hard time to be able to?
Right, because they fall along two corridors that are state routes. That's
Bermuda is county, isn't it?
It is, but I mean, from my understanding, we can still write tickets.
Oh, no, I know that, but we're talking speed
Getting
limit.
the speed limit
limit.
now,
Oh,
yeah.
That's a county issue versus a state on Larson Road.
yeah.
So I'm glad I grabbed this, because as far as the contractual services question, I have a much better answer. And I forgot about this, and this is a good thing. So before, they had Garda picking up cash, and it was like super expensive. This
Like
is
for the court,
what they,
you mean?
I think Malik just said something in chat, but I'm not sure what it was, but.
Because we're not able to see it. Can we see it on there? On the iPad?
Well,
uh,
that's not appropriate time to,
Oh, okay.
I mean, he can chat, but we're not open for public comment right now.
I see. Okay.
We were using Garda, like armed people coming to pick stuff up, and, you know, back when they were handling a lot more cash, maybe that was warranted, but it's not now. We can handle that with a police officer.
I was gonna say, you've
Take
got
it.
police here
Yeah.
that could take care of that.
So,
So that's why it was 18,000?
that's why it was 18,000, and that's where a large amount of the savings, that was $438 a month for them to, you know, do that service. Alongside the Regis thing, which we can count on going away. And then I think that is a mistake on the supplies, because we got new cameras, and not these cameras, but like, there's a new camera right there, a security camera, and they're very nice.
But
And,
it shouldn't be in course, is what you're saying?
yeah, I got charged to it, and I gotta ask Angela about that. Because there's the computers and then the cameras. And that's like, makes up $10,000. So, now with that said, those file jackets aren't cheap. They're, you know, special printed things, and we have to order them in bulk because every case requires one, and so, you know, almost 1,500 of that is file jackets. Wow. Yeah. And we do quote those around. Okay. Public Works. There wasn't very much change here either. There was a change in the uniforms from last time, a slight decrease. We're going to a allowance system, the uniform allowance, which I think everyone will like more, and it's easier to predict how much you're going to spend. And then hazardous tree, we increased. Whether that increase will stay or not, we had it at 9,000 last time we talked. What's
What
that?
number is it?
This is the very top of page 5. 10792.
Thank you.
We had hazardous tree, we had it at $9,000 last time. Doug Seeley recommended that we have a minimum of 50. Now, he's the tree guy, so he's gonna tell you need it. But I think we do need it, right?
Yes.
I think it's realistic that we're gonna be using those dollars. We've got problem trees.
If we wanna qualify to be a Tree City USA, we have to have at least 10,000 to be safe. Because $2 for every resident, we're around 4,200. Depending on what, you know, population metric you use, so, 10,000 would be the minimum if we're gonna go through with being a tree city.
I wasn't clear at the meeting, so that whole Beyond Housing $20,000 grant and us doing $20,000 for Doug to do the tree survey, that's not anywhere here, that allotment?
I wanted that in the budget also. It didn't make it. I can't find it. We're talking about the tree survey, we know that's gonna be, but
What was he talking about in his email? Was he talking about the survey, or was he talking about something else? Because from my understanding, it would be about 2,700 for the city, because of reimbursements.
oh, for the whole,
Yeah, we gotta talk to him.
we gotta talk to Doug and get that
So just
clarified.
for the survey, but so then we put on hold that matching grant until we make it, some monies from being a tree city that are working towards that?
From my understanding,
Yeah, and it's a little unclear. We've had a meeting with him and an email clarification, and to me, it's still not clear. So it's a convoluted,
we might invite him to
Process.
the October meeting.
yeah, that would be helpful, I think.
And that's when we'll be
A
voting. on it.
presentation, yeah. I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would.
And let him answer your question so I don't screw up the answer.
You may not be being clear either, so.
Is this right? Is this, 10705, the workman's compensation?
Where, what page? 'Cause
Oh, 4.
10.
Yeah, I mean, that's a significant difference.
Is that right? Is that a
No,
typo?
that's probably not right.
Yeah,
But wait, hold on.
10700, here.
I thought I brought that to your attention last time.
But on the other hand, like,
Missing a
that's
decimal
gotta be,
point.
you have the salaries page?
Yes, those.
Because this is imported from this sheet, so I don't know how it could get dropped off.
Yeah, from 2000 to 2000.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 26,520. Probably. So we just lost $24,000.
Well-
20,500.
I don't think it's a typo, but it is a mistake, because I think that's another thing that we're still pinning down exact numbers. But I think by oversight, I put in the clerical workman's comp rate into the public works.
So Public Works should still be the 25,
Yeah, right.
I
26,000.
can't imagine it would be that high for MEM's bill on 5 employees.
Right, that's the other question. That's also the other thing to consider. It probably won't be as high as it was because we, had a reduction in force from dropping sanitation. And then also, we've been talking with MEM about improving safety in the public works department. They do have, like, you were asking about the trainings and stuff. They have a lot of that, basically incentives to make your stuff safe, to reduce your rates.
During Employers Mutual, they pretty much have a market on work comp insurance.
We also have a old work comp claim. The claims drop off, so, I don't think, yeah. We had a pretty bad public works claim that should be dropping off, so.
But
Anyways,
even from the year before,
it is wrong, yeah.
so
I will get that nailed down. So,
what about the capital outlay, 10795?
yeah,
Is that's
that's right.
right? What does that
What does
increase
it
due
mean,
to?
capital outlay?
That is ARPA, so, here we go.
Is that before the bucket truck and stuff, or?
Well, that was off this year's budget.
Oh, wait, I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why is it?
I think we moved that dump truck to next year's budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, last year we put a lot of money, or this year technically, but yeah, fiscal year '22, we put a lot of money of our ARPA money in the police department. This year, there's a bit more focus on the public works. Some of the public works projects we identified last year are getting carried over into this year. One of those is the dump truck, which is $106,000. One of those is the roof, which unfortunately grew from $40,000 to $70,000 once we got.
Oh, the roof repair, at Public Works.
Yeah.
I believe that number's gonna be lower when we actually solicit bids.
Right.
So it's the roof, the heater, the dump truck, and.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
deferred upgrades and maintenance in public works. A lot of things just left Joe for a long, long time.
I remember you
gonna
at
be up.
meetings.
Yeah, we'll keep that in mind. Rodney fixed things.
Sure.
When something wasn't right, he just fixed it. He didn't call someone. So it may not have been
Document.
perfectly done. He just made it work.
So, yeah, any other questions at Public Works? I won't lie to you, it's the budget I'm probably least sure about, just because it's been so,
Convoluted.
it's been such a mess the past 3 years. You know, police department, I can say, well, this is what they spent last year. You know, they've been operating, and we can kind of get an idea from that, but.
And when you're talking about the money for the uniforms, do they have some kind of standard they go by?
Right, so, I mean,
Is it like a polo shirt and
so this,
pants or?
so this would be $500, this would be, you know, we do have standard bright yellow with the Normandy Fleur-de-Lis and
Yeah, yeah.
Normandy Public Works. This would be work boots, any,
Dickies.
Cool.
any additional, yes, safety overalls,
Make
hats.
sure they're steel toes.
We do. They buy every year. They
Okay.
have, that's been the practice.
Yeah, because that could be a workman's comp. No
Yeah.
offense with the way they,
Yeah,
They're
we got a
inexperienced.
shoe store. We've been sending them every year. They go fit for steel-toed shoes.
cool.
So,
What about the equipment maintenance street? Would Castle Park, be part of any of this? I know at the meeting Mr. Pace spoke, but I didn't hear any kind of follow-through.
well, that's gonna come in, so on professional fees, you'll see, so, you'll see a drop from last year, so, yeah, you weren't at the last meeting, so we combined the inspection budget and the public works budget, because there's no need for them to be separate budgets. So this professional fee was what basically we were paying our inspector. Now Rick is our inspector, so that moved from
In-house.
fees to salaries, right?
Okay.
So our fees basically went away, more or less, because if you look at like the old public works budget, I think it was like $500 for professional fees. We're gonna put 10,000 to get a street assessment done. I talked to some people at Beyond Housing, they just recently did a street assessment for the 24-1, which Normandy opted out of a few years ago. We still have to pay for it, they just got a collective bid going for it. So anyways, we'll get a bid for a street assessment, and then we can stack up, okay, and Castle Park will probably be near the top of that list. Just, you don't have to do an assessment to tell that, but we'll say, these are our worst streets, these are our best streets, and then these, have the priority and work our way down.
So do we have monies then to put towards that then?
Right. So we have, this is just the general fund. There's the capital improvement fund, and there's the street repair fund, which are pretty small budgets. The street repair fund isn't very large income every year, but what I was told from Angela is they kind of just let the money collect in there until they had enough to do a project, and then they'd spend it. And I think there is some money to do some street repairs. The other thing is, going forward, once we kind of get on top of the housing inventory, CDBG funds, a lot of people use CDBG funds for roads, which is ideal, really.
You're saying maybe next year, put roads in the DBG?
Yeah. And I don't think it would be a good idea to do this year because we don't have a street assessment. You know what I'm saying? So
But that isn't, it could be a liability, couldn't it? It's pretty
we got to get it fixed.
broken up.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, I think it's an emergency in this sense. And so I understand the process of waiting and doing the street assessment and then, as we have money pulling it forward.
So it is this, yeah, I don't want to downplay how bad the street is. I don't. But you can still drive you can drive around the giant pothole. It's really not a standard anyone should, accept, but
So there's
as far as an emergency,
I went out there. So you're thinking
I mean,
that would hold it off until we get to.
there's also other places in Normandy that are like that.
Similar,
And then, on top of the street assessment, you get, which streets are the worst and which streets are the best. And then another thing you have to prioritize is, is this an arterial road or maybe, arterial is really Bermuda and Florissant, but is this a Paddington or Ellington, or is this kind of
driveway.
a driveway, which is kind of what,
What it is.
right? But, Paddington and Ellington, all the other streets connect to those, right? And so,
I get it. Thank you.
and so then we come to where we need to trim, because after we transfer in money from the Parks Department, from the park sales tax, which we're saving a lot of money by utilizing more of that sales tax, and dissolving the TIF is a big part of that. After you do the transfer in from ARPA, which is, 200,000 of which is police salaries, and then the rest is just capital expenditures.
Excuse me.
Transfer in from economic development, we're transferring 25% of the revenues from that to pay for administrative salaries,
The last page.
which is something that we're allowed to do with those funds, so that's some relief. And then you subtract the principal and interest payments. Where's your page five?
For Austin Lane.
For Austin Lane. Yeah, so then you have the principal and interest payments for Austin Lane. If we get that sorted out, that goes away. Then basically, the 103 is the deficit that we have to come up with. Now, 65,000 of that is the Austin Lane, which one, we should either sort out by paying off the loan and selling assets to pay it off, or pay for it with capital improvement sales tax, which
And when
is
you say pay for it, what's the it?
the principal,
Okay,
yeah, or the payments,
okay.
the monthly payments.
So where do we get the capital improvement funding then?
So this is the general fund. General fund, we also have restricted funds, which we haven't even gotten into yet. There's the capital improvement sales tax, which traditionally has been about $67,000. I think with the dissolution of the TIF, that one will go up a little bit, but not as much as some of the other ones. And that's just because how the tax works. It's very off in the weeds. But I think we can expect around $70,000 from capital improvement. Now generally,
It's only 1 month here. Oh, wait,
No,
is the
that's-
65,000 paying it all off?
that's for the year. The
For the
year,
year.
the year of the monthly payments. We've got, so we got the capital improvement sales tax, that's a half cent tax. We have the economic development sales tax, which is a half-cent tax. Which 20,000 of which we're using for administrative salaries. The rest we're using for economic development projects and as well as natural bridge maintenance.
Landscape.
And we also have the Parks and Stormwater half-cent sales tax, which is more or less accounted for in this budget because we're transferring $61,000 from the Parks and Stormwater sales tax into the general fund to pay for Public Works to maintain the parks. I think next year the sales tax for economic development and Parks and Stormwater are going to be about $80,000. Before they were like $47,000, but that's the benefit of dissolving the TIF. Because really, they've been $80,000 this entire time, but half of that goes into the TIF, so, or has been for the past few years.
So then are you still then having that fourth person in Public Works to do parks? Is that where this money's coming?
That's one way to think about it the other way. Fourth of the work the Public Works does is for parks. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but there was a different aspect of communicating that the other time.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it is on the salary sheet. One of the Public Works employees is a Parks employee. Now, I don't want you to think.
Fourth one though.
Right, yeah, he's the fourth one. But the only reason why I say that is because I don't want you to think like, you know, Corey is the one Public Works guy and he's got Parks on his shirt and he only does Parks 24/7.
Oh, but no.
You know, all the guys do it.
I was thinking.
Right.
So, okay. So if there's 3 now doing parks already, there'll be 4 on the accrued doing, because there's a fourth person, they'll be able to do more about parks.
No.
Is that what?
I mean, yeah, well, as just a general staffing question, we are, for a long time, we were missing that fourth person in Public Works. We do have them now. And as a result, we're able to put more work. But as far as a budgeting question, it's not really relevant. It's just, but
It's just where are you paying, out of which pool of money are you paying
Yeah.
that fourth person? That's all it is. It's just a line item.
And even though
Question.
Mr. Harris said he's fine with 3, we used to have 4, is what you're saying.
we used to have
We'd
7
find out.
people.
We have to have 7.
Well, that's when we were doing
Sanitation.
garbage too.
Yeah, trash.
We were hauling trash.
When Chris first came on in May, we had 3. Since then, we've increased to 4. So,
And so that's where this money is to pay for that fourth person. So you're
yes,
taking it out of parks then?
right. But it's not, the way you're kind of saying it makes me think you think it's an increase. Last year, it was still budgeted for. We've done this parks thing before. We're just increasing the amount to,
It's just a hat. You're just assigning the hat to the Parks Department.
yeah. And it's still, in the amount we're transferring over, there still should be, you know, $18,000 thereabouts for the Parks Board and the Parks and Sales Tax to pay for improvements, matching grants, and things of that nature, so.
So did that, at the budget for parks was what, 70,000, so that's been taken away or
Some of those
redirected?
dollars are still there.
So, yeah, you know, last year it was 70, I don't know where you got that number, but last year, we transferred in 32,000 from parks.
Bank statement, that was.
Yeah, the bank statement. is
Yeah,
right.
don't look at bank statements for how much, because there's reasons, but, yeah, and there's still a reserve in parks.
There is a
We're not
reserve,
tapping into
yeah.
the reserve, so.
So the bottom line is, we need to find $39,000 to balance this budget.
Right, and I think the easiest way to do that is to be realistic about how many police officers and how fast we can hire them. And if that means we have to slow down, then we have to slow down. But we're not gonna get to full staffing in the police department. Certainly not by October 1. You know, if we do it in a way to where maybe we get them by halfway through the year, April 1st. That would be great, but,
It'll more than take care of this $39,000 deficit that we're talking about.
yeah.
Well, won't the selling of the properties, where's that money going into?
So the selling of the properties,
Is not in this
well,
budget.
we need to talk about that. This is really an operational budget. I mean, we can use the sale of the properties to help what we're doing at the new municipal building, right? We can use it to restore some of our reserves, which
Cash
are very
reserves.
low. And
The bottom line is that is not reflected in this budget.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
Because we can't
that's
bank on
a
that.
That's a
safety
good,
valve.
I mean.
Yeah, it really is.
so, as far as the sale, I think we will probably come, after all the fees and everything, we'll probably come over 100,000 on just the residential houses. I need to check up on him, but we are in the process of getting an appraisal on Sinclair Station.
Oh, I know, I want to find out
Oh,
about
yeah.
that. That's,
Is that
will
gonna be done through Reed? Or,
The appraisal
Yeah.
or the sale?
I'm sorry.
We found a different gentleman to do the appraisal,
Yeah.
he does commercial appraisals, that's what he does.
Okay.
so that will probably be another 100,000.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That house on Blanford that had the legal issue
Mhm.
from the previous administration, is that still in legality?
I'll talk to you after the meeting.
It's
Okay.
extremely
Well, the reason
legal.
why I said I was looking at money, that's why.
I'll give you an update.
No, that's fine.
Thank you.
And,
No, I
and
didn't know if that was reflected, that's all.
It is not.
What are you talking about, the?
Well, I don't want to mention addresses because we're talking about citizens of the community and,
yeah.
yeah.
And then there's the sale of the sanitation trucks and the police vehicles, which, once that happens, the sanitation trucks will help cover some of the loss that still hasn't been realized from the sanitation fund. But
So they're gonna sell all three of them, isn't there three of them?
There's
Four of them now.
Oh, there's four of them.
Yeah, one of them's got a
and a couple pickups too.
dump bed that's just toast. It's not worth anything. So it's gonna be somebody's gonna be buying a chassis is what they're gonna be buying. Truck and chassis. It runs good from what I've been told, but it's the actual compactor and storage of trash portion of that truck is junk.
Good, I'm glad they're gonna sell it all as a big unit to get rid of them.
So when all that comes in, it goes into a general fund, or how does it fit into the budget then?
Well, we haven't put those dollars in this budget.
So is it
So we
accumulated?
haven't, we haven't accounted for those dollars. They're just, when it comes in, it goes in a general fund, and it's not been dedicated to anything.
But we need to discuss how it's being
And
used
when
then?
when those dollars are in the bank, we'll have that discussion.
And, you know, if we want to account for it and plan for it, it should be done on the capital budget, not the operating budget. Because what you don't want to do is sell a house and then use it to pay for salaries, because you won't have a house to sell next year.
Right.
So,
And that would also coincide with capital purchases, because that makes sense. You're phasing
Getting rid of
out.
one and getting a
Yeah,
new one.
you're upgrading.
Okay. I think we're good. Does somebody have their calendar with them? When do we meet for that final, it's the hearing?
And then the double
It's-
reading.
We're gonna have 2 readings of this budget and a vote. We're gonna have a public hearing for the sales tax rate. We're gonna have a vote on the sales tax rate.
The sales tax rate is the 27th.
Then everything's
That's
happening on
everything
the
on the 27th.
27th.
Yeah,
What day is that?
it's a Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday. I think it's the last Tuesday of the month,
Yeah, it
correct?
sounds-
Yes.
So that's gonna be for everything then?
Well, again, that's why we have to make sure that everyone possible, council-wise, shows up so that we can have first reading, second reading, vote as well. So that
Right.
we have enough time to get this resolution passed budget
And if it
passed.
takes a minute to digest this, it's real important, any questions, concerns, suggestions, get to Sam in the next 48 hours. Because 27th is go time to pass a budget.
What about the council people that aren't here? They could be directed to the audio, to the Zoom link, to the conversation?
If they're not here on the 27th?
No, here today. I mean,
Oh. Yeah, I mean, this is a recorded meeting and we're gonna send out this information to them, so.
with
And
the-
I'm gonna send out to the council the restricted funds budgets, most of which really, won't be that complicated, because a lot of it's already accounted for in here. The capital improvement is the only one that I'm still not sure how the council wants to handle it. And a lot of that hinges on the new
Future.
municipal building.
The
Almost
future.
called it the mortuary.
Do we need another workshop before the 27th to
I
hash
think-
that out? So
I-
the budget,
I'm open to it, but here's the thing. On the 27th, because we did not have a first reading yesterday, we cannot, if someone votes no, then we're gonna enter into a government shutdown. Really, I mean, if we were the federal government, we'd have a government shutdown, right? We
We'd
don't
have
have a
a
budget.
furlough.
Now, if someone votes no, then we can make a motion to extend the budget from last year into October until a new budget gets passed. But because we did not have a first reading Tuesday, we have to have both readings at the same meeting, which requires unanimous consent to have the second reading. So, which I think everyone will agree to have the second reading, right? And then once you have the second reading, you can vote how you please, but
But procedurally, that's why I voted no on tabling, because that's not typical and it's.
Well,
not-
and on this capital improvement budget that you're concerned about, you said, I'm not sure how the council wants to handle that.
yeah.
So
that's
what
Options.
options, yeah, let's
so
just,
we can, and I know I'm not speaking to a quorum, but we can, one, use the money to help make payments on the lease, purchase agreement over there.
okay?
That's one option. We could buy capital expenditures with it. Now, luckily, because of ARPA, we kind of have the benefit of our capital expenditures are met, right?
I have no clue what you're talking about.
Generally, without ARPA, we'd be buying police vehicles with this tax money.
Oh,
But we have
oh,
ARPA, so we don't have to buy police
Right,
vehicles,
right.
right? We don't, everything's,
We're
catching a break.
confused
Right,
with
so
cash.
we don't necessarily need to use this money for those kinds of purchases.
we're catching a break.
And how many dollars are we talking about?
I would say about 70,000.
So half of that balance is our budget right out of the gate. 39,000 of it.
Yeah, it balances that 65 number for the principal and interest payments if we do.
Well, I was talking about the other 39, not counting that. We're still 39,000.
We could do that.
Yeah.
Or we could improve a street with it. That's something we could do with it. We could sit on it and, it's good to save some capital improvement money so you can buy things that are more expensive than things that cost more than $70,000, you'll have to.
So
save
not
that.
budget it, and
Put it
if
in
we
the piggy bank.
determine
I don't recommend that one, though.
What, don't you want?
Well, I'm just gonna say, if it's determined there's a need, we have a budget amendment mid-year and use those dollars.
We can do it that way. Depending on, we're still working with Gemma, depending on what that dollar amount, and if we're going to finance the improvement of the building over there and actually make it into City Hall, it could be necessary to have a portion of those capital improvement sales tax unencumbered. That way we can make payments on the bonds.
My recommendation would be not budgeted at all. And then we have a safety valve if we need to have a budget amendment.
Yeah.
3-6 months down the road, we can do that
Yeah.
and not commit it to anything at this point.
Yeah.
Because there's too many unknowns out there.
Yeah, I
I
would agree with
agree.
that.
Okay.
I usually tell people, don't don't pigeonhole yourself into something that you can't.
Well, and typically, to Sam's point,
Yeah.
you've got the money, budget the money, spend the money. But our situation, without having any cash reserves,
Yeah.
I would opt to just not budget it and wait to see what cards were dealt.
We have special circumstances with the ARPA as well.
Yeah.
But, because, generally, the capital improvement sales tax is tight, because, going forward to budget year 24, 25, 26, where I have to buy two vehicles, right? Truck for public
ARPA
works,
anymore.
have a plan. We're lucky with the ARPA money these past 2 years, but.
Yep.
So I think we just resolved that issue?
Well, if the rest of the council's in agreement,
When we meet,
and I think it's reasonable that they will be.
Budgets can always be amended as well, so.
So
So-
with those that weren't able to attend today, so you're saying it may not be necessary to have another workshop? that they
I
might-
don't think that it's necessary, I'm not opposed to it, I just don't, if we're talking about that one issue, I think
Is that the only issue?
it's dollars that we could amend the budget at any time and have the whole council involved in that decision.
So on the 27th, this would be the only thing coming up between now and then. This new information is going to be sent out to everyone with just kind of a reminder, they could listen to this conversation on YouTube, since they weren't here.
Yeah. Or they could
if
call
they have
me.
any
Or they
questions,
could
yeah,
call,
they
right,
can call
call.
you.
They could call me, or, or call Sam. Call me, he's busy.
I'm happy, I'm happy to answer any questions about it. So.
All right.
Would it be conducive for us to have a online-only meeting for a first reading
Oh, yeah, that's not bad.
before the
I-
27th?
you
Are
know,
we allowed to do that?
We could, if we have a quorum, we can have a first reading. I'm not too worried about it, because really, the only way it could go wrong is if someone opposes having the second reading. I don't predict how council people are gonna vote, because that's,
I do not see that happen.
right.
Okay.
But
I don't either.
Yeah, that's fine.
someone would have to be, hell-bent on not passing the budget to do that. That is very obstructionist, so.
Well, my questions have been answered here.
Okay.
Yeah, so I feel more confident to,
Okay, that's all.
I think we plan on the 27th and field any answers
everything
between
done.
now and then. And if there's something that comes up that is problematic or stops us from that plan moving forward, we'll deal with it.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe if you send out an email to everyone, just like she said, and please contact me right away if you have any questions. That, to me, that's fair.
Yeah, I just don't want anything to get in the way of us having a budget.
Yeah, and I don't see that happening,
That's-
especially if we've got a capital improvement
I've been
safety
a part of
valve.
that
that we-
furlough for 3 different times.
Right, it's not fun.
We had it last year, it's not the end of the world.
It's- Right, but it is.
There's no reason to do it.
There's no reason to, yeah,
Right.
it is, as you said, it's obstructionist in nature and not conducive to anyone's benefit in
No,
any way.
it doesn't serve the public well, so.
No.
All right, if everyone's questions are answered to their satisfaction,
Yeah,
Yes, thank you.
well, let's have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
All right, good.
It's a lots of work.
Yeah, okay,
Well, I'm glad.
Oh, it looks,
good.
I'm not concerned about
Better than I
trying to
thought.
fit $39,000 off of this thing.
Thank you, Malik, for,
we're only.
Yes.
39
is
in the
Malik
hole.
still there?
from
I
this,
was
it
worried
indicates
about
he's still on.
38 in the hole.
Could you tell him
Yeah.
that?
You know what I mean?
The chat,
Yeah.
you couldn't
Well,
respond to the chat
39
because
looks
of-
better than the
This is a workshop.
100 and something
I
thousand.
mean, you
Yeah.
just said it.
Oh,
so you
and the
probably could
public-
Yeah, he could
We
do it.
can
Yeah,
submit
comment, but
it
you could call
And then,
us.
so.
in the
Yeah,
future.
Malik, if you have any questions or
Revenue's
concerns.
the problem.
Yeah,
I mean,
just said-
Yeah, I'm happy to talk to him right now.
Yeah, or you can email
Could-
us.
We're spending less than last year.
Thank you, Malik.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Well, that's what we should do since we're short, but